Have you ever found yourself sitting in a perfectly ordinary room, surrounded by people who seem completely at ease with the world around them, while something inside you feels profoundly out of place? Nothing unusual is happening. The same walls surround you. The same familiar voices fill the air. The same life you've spent years building stretches out before you. And yet, without warning, a feeling rises from somewhere deep inside your chest. Not sadness, not fear, something far stranger, homesickness. A longing so powerful it seems to bypass logic altogether. A longing for a place you cannot name, a place you cannot remember, a place that feels more familiar than anything you've ever known. You look around at your home. You look at the people you love. You look at the life everyone insists to feel complete, and still, a thought emerges from somewhere deeper than memory itself. I want to go home. But you are home. At least that's what you've always been told, so why does the feeling remain? Why has it followed you throughout your entire life? Why have you spent years carrying the quiet suspicion that everyone else understands something about this world that you somehow missed? Most people never speak about this feeling. How could they? How do you explain missing a place you've never been? How do you describe a memory you cannot access? How do you communicate a longing that seems to exist beyond language? So you learn to take quiet, you learn to adapt, you learn to wear the mask, you learn to care about the things everyone else appeared to care about. Success, status, recognition, achievement. You tried to convince yourself that fulfillment could be found in the same place as everyone else seemed to find it. But something never quite fit. The world appeared obsessed with games that felt strangely meaningless. People dedicated entire lifetimes to accumulating symbols, titles, possessions, approval. And while they chased those things with certainty, another question followed you everywhere. A question that only grew louder with time. Why am I really here? Maybe you felt it as a child while staring out a classroom window. Maybe you felt it lying awake at night while the rest of the world slept peacefully. Maybe you felt it while looking up at the stars and experiencing a strange pull you could never fully explain. Whatever form it took, the feeling never disappeared. In fact, it grew stronger. Because beneath the routines of daily life, beneath the responsibilities, beneath the distractions, beneath the identity you've spent years constructing, there remains a quiet certainty, a knowing, a feeling that this world is not quite what it appears to be. You watch humanity's endless cycles of conflict, and something inside you recoils. You witness cruelty and wonder how people can accept it so easily. You watch society reward division, competition, and fear, and it feels completely foreign to you. Almost as if some deeper part of you remembers a reality where life was never meant to function this way. For years, you may have assumed something was wrong with you. Many people do. They search for explanations, labels, diagnoses, anything that might explain why they feel disconnected from the world around them. But what if the feeling isn't a malfunction? What if it isn't confusion? What if it isn't loneliness? What if it is memory? Because according to a series of extraordinary discoveries that emerged through thousands of deep hypnosis sessions conducted over several decades, the feeling so many people carry may not be psychological at all. It may be the echo of something far older, a forgotten decision, promise, a mission. And if that mission is real, it would explain the sensitivity, the exhaustion, the longing, the growing urgency that seems to be intensifying with each passing year. But before we can understand why you feel this way, we must explore a story so extraordinary that even the people experiencing it struggle to believe it themselves. Because when those sessions began, nobody expected the answers to lead beyond Earth. And what emerged next would completely transform the way Dolores Cannon understood human life, consciousness, and reality itself. Welcome to Awakening Archives. If you found your way to this message today, I want you to consider something for a moment. Out of the countless videos, conversations, distractions, and demands competing for your attention right now, something brought you here. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was coincidence. Or maybe it was something much older than either of those explanations can account for. Because if you've spent years carrying the feelings we just explored, if you've moved through life with the quiet sense that reality is larger than what you've been told, then this moment may not be random at all. It may be recognition. For most of your life, you've probably learned to keep certain experiences to yourself. The thoughts that arrive when you stare into the night sky. The questions that emerge during moments of silence. The strange certainty that appears without warning and disappears the moment everyday life demands your attention again. Many people spend years ignoring those experiences, not because they aren't real, but because they are difficult to explain. How do you describe a memory you cannot fully access? How do you explain a longing that seems to have no source? How do you communicate a knowing that exists beyond words? This channel exists for those questions, for the wanderers, for the volunteers, for the system disruptors, for the souls who have spent years trying to understand why they experience life differently than the people around them. You do not need to suppress those questions. You do not need to convince yourself that your intuition is wrong. You do not need to pretend that the visible world is the whole story. This is a place where deeper conversations are welcome. A place where forgotten ideas can be explored. A place where the quiet truth you've carried for years can finally be spoken aloud. Take a slow breath. Release whatever tension you've gathered throughout the day. Noise settle. Because what we're about to explore challenges nearly everything most people believe about identity, purpose, punches, time, and reality itself. And if even part of it resonates with you, you may never look at your life the same way again. Today, we are going to explore one of the most extraordinary revelations to emerge from the work of Dolores Cannon and the intelligence she referred to as the subconscious. But this is not simply a conversation about starseeds. In fact, by the time we reach the end of this journey, that label may feel far too small for what we're actually discussing. Because what if the story you've been telling yourself about your life is incomplete? What if the loneliness you've carried for years was never random? What if the sensitivity you've spent your life trying to suppress was never a weakness? What if the exhaustion you felt, the kind that sleep never seems to fix, wasn't evidence that something was wrong with you at all? What if it was evidence that something much larger was happening beneath the surface of your experience? And what if the strange urgency so many people are feeling right now, the sense that something significant is approaching, something impossible to define yet impossible to ignore, is an anxiety? What if it's recognition? Because according to thousands of regression sessions conducted over decades, there may be a reason why certain people have always felt disconnected from modern society. A reason why some souls seem incapable of accepting systems everyone else considers normal. A reason why so many people feel as though they're waiting for something they cannot name. Today, we're going to explore why that feeling exists. We're going to uncover a hidden story about Earth consciousness and the nature of time itself. A story that begins long before your birth, long before your childhood, long before the life you currently remember. We'll examine why your deepest struggles may have carried a purpose you couldn't see while you were living through them. We'll explore why suffering, isolation, and longing appear so frequently in the lives of people who feel called to something greater. And most importantly, we'll arrive at a final revelation so unexpected that it changes the meaning of everything that comes before it. A revelation that challenges not only where you came from, when you came from, because if the information that emerged through these sessions is accurate, then the souls who answered Earth's call may not have arrived only from distant stars. They may have arrived from somewhere far more surprising. We'll get there. But first, we need to understand why the call was made in the first place, because once you understand what happened to Earth, everything else begins to make sense. To understand who you truly are, we need to begin with a question that completely transformed the direction of Dolores Cannon's work. Because for decades, her focus was relatively straightforward. She helped people explore past lives through deep hypnosis. She guided clients beyond conscious memory, allowing them to revisit experiences that appeared connected to unresolved fears, physical symptoms, recurring emotional patterns, and unexplained struggles in their present lives. Again and again, people described scenes from other periods of history, ancient civilizations, forgotten cultures, lives lived centuries before their current incarnation. The process was so consistent that it became familiar until something changed. And what happened next was so unexpected that it challenged everything Dolores believed she understood about reincarnation itself. Certain individuals began arriving whose stories didn't follow the pattern. When she guided them backward through memory, expecting to uncover another earthly lifetime, they didn't arrive in ancient Egypt. They didn't arrive in Rome. They didn't arrive in the Middle Ages. They didn't arrive on Earth at all. Instead, they described existing as beings of pure awareness, consciousness without physical form, intelligence without limitation. They spoke of realities where communication happened instantly, where separation did not exist, where fear, competition, and survival were completely foreign things. And the strangest part was this. These people had never met each other. They came from different countries, different cultures, different backgrounds, yet they repeatedly described the same themes, the same environments, the same purpose, the same mission. Session after session, a larger picture began to emerge. According to the intelligence speaking through these subjects, Earth was far more than a planet. It was a school. One of the most challenging schools in existence. A place where consciousness entered limitation. A place where souls experienced separation. A place where free will carried real consequences. Here, unlike many other realities, beings could forget who they truly were. They could experience fear, loss, conflict, attachment, identity. And through those experiences, they could learn in ways impossible elsewhere. But Earth was not simply a classroom. Earth itself was alive. A conscious being, a living system participating in its own evolutionary journey. And according to these sessions, there came a moment when that journey entered dangerous territory. A moment that would eventually trigger one of the largest volunteer efforts ever described through Dolores Cannon's work. To understand why, we need to return to the middle of the 20th century. Humanity had entered a new era. Scientific progress was accelerating at extraordinary speed. Technology was advancing faster than ever before. But alongside those advancements came something else. A new level of destructive capability. For the first time in recorded history, humanity possessed the power to damage the planet on a scale never before imaginable. Then it happened. The atomic bomb, According to the information that emerged through these sessions, this moment was not observed only by humanity. It was observed throughout the cosmos because the implications extended far beyond Earth itself. The sign was not simply physical destruction, it was energetic, emanation. According to the subconscious, all life is connected, all realities are connected, all timelines are connected. And if Earth continued moving towards self-destruction, the consequences would ripple far beyond a single planet. Something had to change. But there was a problem. The highest universal laws prohibited direct interference. Humanity possessed free will. A free will could not simply be overridden. No advanced civilization could arrive and force humanity to evolve. No external force could impose enlightenment. The choice had to remain humanity's own, so a different solution was proposed. A solution far more subtle, far more difficult, and far more courageous. If assistance could not come from outside the system, it would have to come from within. A call was sent out, not across countries, not across planets, across consciousness itself. A request for volunteers, souls willing to leave realities of extraordinary harmony and enter one of the most challenging environments imaginable. Souls willing to forget who they were, forget where they came from, forget why they came, and still fulfill their mission. According to these sessions, countless souls answered that call. Not because they were forced, not because they were chosen against their will, because they volunteered. They understood the difficulty, they understood the risks, they understood the density of Earth, the emotional weight, the amnesia, the loneliness, the confusion, the possibility that they would spend an entire lifetime forgetting their purpose, and still they agreed. But the something about Earth mattered, something about this moment mattered. And if what emerged through the sessions is true, the decision you made before arriving here may explain far more about your life than you ever imagined. If these volunteers truly came to Earth with a purpose, an obvious question emerges: why don't they remember? Why arrive with a mission so important only to forget it completely? According to the information that surfaced through these sessions, the answer lies in one of the fundamental rules of earthly incarnation: amnesia. The moment consciousness enters a physical body, a veil descends, memories disappear, identities dissolve. The vastness of what came before is hidden behind the limitations of human awareness. This wasn't described as punishment. It was described as necessity. Because if you remembered everything from the beginning, the experience would change completely. There would be no uncertain, no discovery, no genuine choice. The mission could only work if those who volunteered became fully immersed in the experience. They had to forget, at least for a while. But forgetting created a new challenge, because while conscious memory disappeared, something else remained: the blueprint, the energetic signature of the soul itself. And according to Dolores Cannon's work, that blueprint continued expressing itself throughout a person's life in ways many volunteers struggled to understand. They felt different. Not superior, not special, different. As if they were attempting to navigate a world whose rules never felt entirely natural. Many described feeling homesick from an early age. Not homesick for a house. Not homesick for a country. Homesick for something they couldn't identify. A place. A feeling. A frequency. Something just beyond reach. To better understand these experiences, Dolores Cannon eventually described what became known as the 3 waves of volunteers. And as we explore them, you may find yourself recognizing pieces of your own journey. The first wave faced what many considered the most difficult assignment. These souls arrived earlier, long before conversations about consciousness, awakening, energy, or spiritual transformation became widespread. They entered a world that felt profoundly incompatible with their nature. From childhood, many carried a loneliness that seemed impossible to explain. They often felt disconnected from their peers, disconnected from society, sometimes even disconnected from their own families. Imagine spending your entire life feeling as though everyone else received instructions that somehow never reached you. Imagine looking around and wondering why cruelty felt so shocking to you while others appeared able to accept it as normal. Many first-wave volunteers described a deep longing to leave Earth, not because they wanted life to end, but because they missed something they couldn't remember. A sense of home that seemed permanently out of reach. Then came the second wave. Their mission was different. These individuals often appeared quieter, less focused on changing the world through action and more focused on changing it through presence. Many were highly empathic, sensitive to emotions, sensitive to environments, sensitive to the energy of other people. They could walk into a crowded room and immediately feel the emotional atmosphere without anyone speaking a word. For many, this sensitivity became exhausting. They absorbed emotions that weren't theirs, carried burdens they didn't create, spent years wondering why ordinary situations drained them so completely. Yet according to these teachings, their presence alone was part of the mission. Simply being here, they influenced the collective field around them. Not through force, not through persuasion, but through frequency. And then came the third wave, the newest arrivals, the generation born into a rapidly changing world. Many of these individuals seem almost incapable of accepting outdated systems. Not because they're rebellious for the sake of rebellion, because something inside them immediately recognizes what no longer aligns with life. They question authority, challenge assumptions, reject structures that previous generations accepted without hesitation. They don't simply want a better world, they expect one. And regardless of which wave resonates most strongly with you, there is a common thread running through all of them. A feeling you've likely carried for years, the feeling that something about this world has never made complete sense, the feeling that the goals society celebrates often seem strangely hollow, the feeling that no amount of achievement, success, recognition, or accumulation can satisfy the deeper longing inside you. Because the longing was never for those things, it was for alignment, for remembrance, for connection, and that constant friction between who you are and the reality around you has likely left scars. Moments of isolation, moments of confusion, moments where you questioned yourself, moments where you wondered if something was wrong with you. But according to these teachings, those moments were not evidence of failure. They were evidence of the challenge you accepted before arriving here. Because you were never designed to fit perfectly into the old systems, you were never meant to become comfortable inside structures that were already beginning to collapse. You came here during a period of transition. That transition is now accelerating faster than ever before, which brings us to the next stage of the story. The reason so many people feel an increasing sense of urgency, the reason the world itself seems to be changing before our eyes, and the reason your presence here may be more important now than at any other point in your life. If you've felt a growing sense of urgency in recent years, you're not alone. In fact, for many people, that feeling has become impossible to ignore. Something feels different, not just personally, collectively. The world seems to be moving faster. Events that once would have taken decades now unfold in months. Systems that appeared permanent are showing cracks. Institutions people trusted for generations are losing their influence. Relationships are ending. Careers are changing. Belief systems are being questioned. Entire ways of living that once felt stable are beginning to shift beneath people's feet. To some, these changes appear chaotic. To others, they appear frightening. But according to the information that emerged through Dolores Cannon's work, something much larger may be taking place. something that extends far beyond politics, economics, or social change. According to the subconscious, Earth is undergoing a transformation unlike anything humanity has experienced before. Not simply a societal transformation, a dimensional one. This idea appeared repeatedly throughout thousands of sessions. The suggestion that Earth itself is changing frequencies, that humanity is moving through a period of separation between two fundamentally different realities, one aligned with fear, the other aligned with expansion, one rooted in control, the other rooted in freedom, one built upon division, the other built upon unity. Imagine two paths that have traveled together for a very long time. For years, they appear identical. Walking, either one feels the same. But eventually they begin to separate, slowly at first, almost imperceptibly, then more rapidly, until the distance between them becomes impossible to ignore. According to these teachings, humanity is living within that separation now. The old structures are not collapsing because something has gone wrong. They are collapsing because they can no longer support the frequency that is emerging. What many people interpret as chaos may actually be transition. What appears to be breakdown may actually be transformation. And this is where your role becomes important. Because according to the volunteer narrative, souls did not come here merely to observe this shift. They came to help stabilize it, not through force, not through control, not through convincing others, but through the frequency they carry. This is why so many people suddenly feel called to simplify their lives, to release relationships that no longer resonate, to abandon habits that drain their energy, to question careers, environments, and identities that once felt permanent. It is not always comfortable. In fact, it can be deeply unsettling, because every transformation requires letting go of something familiar, and the familiar, even when painful, often feels safer than the unknown. Yet something inside you may already know that the old version of your life cannot continue indefinitely. You feel it during quiet moments. You feel it when certain conversations no longer interest you. You feel it when old girls lose their emotional grip. You feel it when you catch yourself searching for something more authentic, something more aligned, something more true. The challenge is that many people mistake this process for failure. They assume something is wrong because what once worked no longer works. But according to these teachings, this discomfort may be a sign of movement, a sign that your inner compass is attempting to orient itself toward a different future. And that future requires something from you. Not perfection, not extraordinary achievements, not public recognition, presence, awareness, alignment. The willingness to stop feeding fear when fear dominates the conversation. The willingness to choose compassion when anger feels easier. The willingness to remain connected to what you know internally, even when the external world appears confused, because if the volunteer narrative is correct, then every choice made from fear strengthens one reality, and every choice made from awareness strengthens another, which means this shift isn't happening somewhere else. It isn't happening someday. It is happening through millions of individual decisions made every single day, and yet everything we've explored so far is only the outer layer of the story. The volunteers, the mission, the awakening, the transformation of Earth. As significant as those ideas may be, they are not the deepest revelation that emerged through these sessions. Because when Dolores Cannon continued asking questions, when she pushed beyond the familiar explanations and into the furthest edges of what the subconscious was willing to reveal, an entirely new possibility emerged. A possibility so unexpected that it changes the meaning of everything you've heard so far. Because the greatest mystery was never where the volunteers came from. The greatest mystery was where they came from. But none of this is the real reason your soul came here. Not the volunteering, not the awakening, not the 3 waves, not even the transformation of Earth itself. As extraordinary as those ideas may seem, they represent only the outer layer of a much larger story. A story hidden beneath everything we've explored so far. Because throughout thousands of sessions, one question continued to emerge. A question so unusual that many people dismissed it immediately. A question that challenged not only spirituality, but humanity's entire understanding of reality itself. Where did the volunteers actually come from? At first, the answers seemed familiar. Other star systems, other dimensions, other forms of consciousness existing beyond physical reality. And certainly, many sessions appeared to support those possibilities. But as the investigation continued, another pattern began to emerge, a pattern that was far stranger. The information kept pointing towards something unexpected, something that didn't fit neatly into any existing spiritual framework, because, according to the intelligence speaking through these sessions, humanity's understanding of time itself may be fundamentally incomplete. Think about how you've been taught to experience life. The past exists behind you. The present exists now. The future exists ahead of you. Everything moves in a straight line. One moment follows another. One year replaces the next. One lifetime unfolds from beginning to end. It's such a deeply accepted assumption that most people never question it. Why would they? Every experience seems to confirm it. And yet, according to the information that emerged through these sessions, linear time may be one of the most convincing illusions humanity has ever experienced. What if time isn't moving? What if it isn't flowing? What if it isn't a line at all? What if past, present, and future are all occurring simultaneously? What if every version of reality exists at the same moment? And what if consciousness has the ability to move between those realities in ways most people have never considered? If that's true, then an entirely new possibility emerges, a possibility that changes everything. Because if all moments exist simultaneously, then help for Earth would not need to come only from distant planets. It would not need to come only from higher dimensions. It could come from somewhere else entirely, somewhere much closer, much harder for the human mind to comprehend. Imagine discovering that the people trying to protect the future were the future. Imagine discovering that the souls answering Earth's distress call were not simply travelers from other worlds. Imagine discovering they were participants in an event far larger than anyone realized. Because according to the deepest revelations that emerged through these sessions, the volunteers may not have traveled across space at all. They may have traveled across time. And if that's true, then the homesickness you've carried your entire life, the feeling that you remember something better, the strange certainty that humanity is capable of far more than it currently demonstrates, may have a completely different explanation. One that changes not only who you are, but when you are from. And to understand that possibility, we must first let go of one final illusion. The illusion that the future hasn't happened yet. To receive this final revelation, you must be willing to release one assumption that has shaped your entire experience of reality. The assumption that time moves in a straight line. From the moment we're born, we're taught to think of existence as a sequence, a past that has already happened, a present we're currently experiencing, a future that has not yet arrived. Everything appears to move forward, every clock confirms it, every calendar reinforces it, every memory seems to prove it. And yet, according to the information that emerged through thousands of regression sessions, time may not function the way we believe it does. The subconscious repeatedly described time as a construct, a learning tool, a framework designed specifically for the Earth experience, not because time is ultimately real, but because linear experience allows consciousness to understand choice, consequence, growth, and transformation. Outside the Earth experience, the picture appears very different. Past, present, and future are not separate. They are interconnected, existing simultaneously. Different frequencies within the same field of consciousness. This idea appeared again and again across different people.
Different sessions, different decades.
And if that possibility is true, then something extraordinary becomes possible. Because when humanity entered the atomic age and began moving toward a potential future of self-destruction, the threat did not exist only within the present. It extended across the entire web of connected timelines. The future itself became vulnerable. And that's when the deepest revelation emerged. The distress call was not answered only by beings from distant star systems. It was not answered only by higher dimensional intelligences. It was answered by the future. You are from the future. Pause for a moment and allow yourself to sit with that possibility. Not as a belief, not as a conclusion, as a possibility. Because if consciousness is not limited by linear time, and the volunteers who arrived to help Earth may not have traveled across galaxies. They may have traveled across timelines. They may have come from civilizations that already exist beyond the struggles humanity is currently facing. Civilizations that have already learned the lessons Earth is still attempting to learn. Civilizations where cooperation replaced competition, where unity replaced separation, where consciousness evolved beyond fear as its primary operating system. In other words, the future humanity is trying to become. And if that is true, and something remarkable begins to make sense, your homesickness, your longing, your sense that something about this world feels incomplete. Perhaps you are not longing for another place. Perhaps you are remembering another time, a future whose frequencies still exist within you, a future that feels more familiar than the world around you because, at some level, you've already experienced. Think about how often you've looked at humanity and felt confused, not angry, confused. How can people live this way? How can they hurt each other so easily? How can they remain disconnected from something that feels so obvious? For years, you may have interpreted those feelings as idealism or sensitivity or boredom. But what if they are memory? What if part of you remembers a version of humanity that has already moved beyond these patterns? What if part of you remembers what comes next? Because according to these teachings, that memory is not stored in the conscious mind. It is carried as frequency, as intuition, as knowing, as resonance, as the persistent feeling that another way of being is possible. This is why so many volunteers feel drawn toward compassion even when anger seems justified. Why they continue choosing connection in a world that often rewards division. Why they instinctively move toward healing when surrounded by conflict. They're not inventing something new. They're remembering something old, or perhaps more accurately, something future. And suddenly, your suffering begins to look different. The loneliness, the isolation, the feeling of being misunderstood. The exhaustion that came from trying to fit into systems that never felt aligned. The years spent wondering why you were different. What if none of those experiences were evidence that something was wrong with you? What if they were evidence that you accepted a difficult assignment? Because imagine what it would feel like to carry the memory of a future civilization into a world still struggling to become it. Imagine remembering harmony while living inside conflict. Imagine remembering unity while experiencing separation. Imagine remembering possibility while being surrounded by limitation. Walksome would be painful. Of course it would. And perhaps that is exactly what so many volunteers have experienced, not failure, not dysfunction, friction. The friction created when a consciousness carrying one frequency enters a reality operating at another. According to countless sessions, the beings communicating through the subconscious often expressed profound admiration for those who chose this path. They described the volunteers as extraordinarily courageous, not because they were powerful, but because they were willing to forget, willing to enter uncertainty, willing to lose all conscious memory of who they were, and still continue, still choose love, still choose compassion. Still continue anchoring a different possibility for humanity. And there is one final realization that brings tremendous relief. You are not responsible for awakening everyone. You are not responsible for forcing others to understand what they are not ready to understand. You are not responsible for carrying the entire future on your shoulders. Every soul has its own journey, its own timing, its own lessons, its own path through experience. The mission was never to save everyone. The mission was to embody a frequency, to become a living reminder of what is possible, to carry tomorrow's consciousness into today's world. To become a bridge. And if you've spent years feeling exhausted from trying to convince people, fix people, rescue people, or wake people up, perhaps this is the moment you finally set that burden down, because your purpose was never to force transformation. Your purpose was to represent it. Your purpose was to live it. And by living it, you influence reality in ways far greater than you realize. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not failing. You are a participant in a story much larger than your current life. A story that began long before your birth. A story connected to timelines, possibilities, and futures beyond what most people imagine. And if these teachings are correct, then every act of compassion, every moment of forgiveness, every choice made from awareness instead of fear, every step toward authenticity is helping strengthen the future you came here to protect. Because in the deepest sense, that future is not separate from you. It is you. You are the future reaching back through time. You are the memory of what humanity can become. And whether you realized it or not, you have been carrying that light your entire life. As this truth settles into your awareness, take a moment and notice what you're feeling. Not what you think, what you feel. Because for many people, the most powerful part of this journey isn't the information, the recognition, the feeling that something inside them has been acknowledged, the feeling that a question they've carried for years has finally been given language. Maybe you felt that recognition while hearing about the volunteers. Maybe it appeared when we explored the 3 waves. Maybe it arrived during the possibility that your homesickness is not for a place, but for a future you somehow remember. Whatever resonated with you most, don't let it pass by unnoticed. honor it. Because moments of recognition matter. They become markers on the path, evidence that something deeper is beginning to awaken. And this is why I want to invite you to do something simple. Go down into the comments and share your experience, not because the algorithm wants engagement, because someone else reading your words may recognize themselves in your story. And sometimes a single sentence is enough to help another person feel less alone. Tell me which part of today's message resonated with you most. Was it the idea of volunteering? The 3 waves? The concept of Earth as a school? Or was it the possibility that the future itself may be reaching back through time? What moment made you stop and think? What moment made you feel seen? And if you're familiar with Dolores Cannon's 3 waves framework, tell me which wave feels most aligned with your own experience. Do you identify with the first wave, the pioneers who often carried profound loneliness? The second wave, the quiet stabilizers whose presence influences more than they realize? Or the third wave, the system challengers who instinctively question what no longer serves life? There are no right answers, only honest ones. Because every story shared here strengthens something important. It reminds people that they are not the only ones asking these questions, not the only ones carrying these feelings, not the only ones searching for meaning beyond the surface of everyday life. And if this message resonated with you, if it awakens something you've been trying to understand for years, consider subscribing to Awakening Archives. We're building a space for these conversations, a space where curiosity is welcomed, where deeper questions are explored, and where people from all over the world can come together around ideas that challenge conventional ways of seeing reality. You do not have to walk this path alone. There are more people asking the same questions than you may realize. Perhaps one of the reasons you found this message today was to begin finding them. As you return now to the rhythm of your daily life, carry this understanding with you. Not as a belief, not as a doctrine, not as something you must convince yourself is true, simply as a possibility worth holding in your awareness. Because whether you accept every part of the story or not, one thing remains undeniable. You have felt something your entire life, a longing, a knowing, a quiet sense that there is more to this experience than what appears on the surface. Perhaps that feeling was never meant to be ignored. Perhaps it was meant to guide you. For so many years, you may have interpreted your sensitivity as weakness, your questioning as uncertainty, your loneliness as evidence that something was missing. But what if those experiences were pointing towards something else entirely? What if they were pointing toward remembrance? Because the deeper message behind everything we've explored today is not that you are separate from humanity. It is that you may have come here because you care about it more than you realize, not because you were forced, not because you were chosen above others, because you answered a call, because some part of you saw possibility where others saw collapse, because some part of you believed the future was worth protecting. And whether that future exists as a literal reality, a symbolic truth, or something beyond either description, the invitation remains the same. To choose awareness over fear, to choose compassion over resentment, to choose authenticity over performance, to become the embodiment of the world you wish existed. Because every transformation begins that way. Not with institutions, not with governance, not with systems, with individuals, with choices, with consciousness. And perhaps that is why you are here now, not to escape this world, not to reject it, but to help shape what comes next, so the next time the loneliness returns, The next time you look at the stars and feel something stir inside you. The next time you find yourself wondering why you've always felt different. Pause. Take a breath. And remember this possibility. Maybe the feeling was never homesickness, maybe it was recognition. Maybe what you've been searching for was never somewhere else. Maybe it has been calling to you from within all along. Because if the future truly lives inside the choices we make today, then the most important question was never, when do I get to go home? The most important question is, now that I'm here, what am I going to create? Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, the future may be closer than it appears.